I spent an incredible amount of my life addicted to Mountain Dew, and I think I might be again. I know it's easier for me to escape now if I really wanted to, but I don't really want to, which is probably the addiction talking. I say the same thing about cigarettes, but the last time I quit, I didn't quit for that long, and I've been smoking ever since. But with Mountain Dew, it was like as a kid, all we really drank was soda in my house. Like my dad drank Diet Pepsi. And my mom would drink Diet Pepsi along with other drinks. Um, and then my brother Victor was big into orange soda, and I was big into Sprite. So we'd usually have those around. Um, and then at some point we discovered Mountain Dew, and it was like the Fire Nation attacked. Like we got into Mountain Dew, and it was me, Victor, and Shade all across the board. My dad was still a Diet Pepsi boy, and my mom was still a whatever. She usually drinks like as soon as they came out with the vanilla Coke with cherry, that became her only drink. And like they only sold it in cans and only at certain stores, so we had to like search for her. It was like zero, like Coke Zero vanilla cherry or whatever. It's a fucking insanely specific drink that I think tastes like garbage. But so me, Victor, and Shay got really into Mountain Dew, and it was all we drank for a very long time. And we would get 2 liters. The fucked up part is that we would get to the, like, as soon as we got to, like, the bottom of the label, we would just stop drinking it. Because by then it would always get flat. Mountain Dew, you should never buy in a 2, you should never buy it in any kind of bottle. Like, even the 20-ounce bottles, like, usually by the time I finish one, it's getting flat at the bottom. Mountain Dew is shit in bottles. Mountain Dew is only good in cans, but it doesn't matter. We were drinking it in bottles for a very long time. I would get these gigantic cups, like fucking huge-ass cups, like the 7-Eleven double big gulp or whatever. And I would fill it up with as much of the 2-liter as I could and take it up to my room and just be drinking that all night and into the next day, when it would be fucking disgusting and flat. And, yeah, I would drink just assloads of Mountain Dew, as did my brothers. And it took a long time for my parents to recognize that they had fucked up by letting us drink that. Like, it was probably 6 or 7 years into us drinking it consistently that they were like, oh shit, like, this is really unhealthy and bad for you, and we've been letting our kids drink it constantly. So they took us off of Mountain Dew at a point. It was, I want to say it was in September. Something like that. We'll say it was like late August or early September. And I remember that I entered one of the most depressive and least productive periods of my life. This was in late 2009, because the funny thing about it is that in 2009, I had started that year off insanely fucking productive. Or no, maybe it was 2008. What year did Toradora air? 2008? Yeah, okay, it was 2008. Early 2008, I'd been pretty productive, I would say, on my anime blog. This was when I was, like, planning my movie and all that shit. Like, I was fairly productive in terms of, like, what I planned to do. But as time went on, I was getting lazier and lazier. So yeah, this would have been 2008 because it's before my cousin Boyd moved in. So for like 3 months, my parents had made us quit Mountain Dew. They stopped buying it for us. And, like, I just would lay around fucking feeling despondent and shitty all the time. Like, I didn't do shit. I was not doing any fucking work. I was totally bored all the time. I felt miserable. And I would straight up stash lunch money so I could buy Mountain Dew. Like, because at our school lunches were $2, but if you paid an extra dollar, you could get an extra thing. So, like, let's say you got a cheeseburger. Like, you for $2, you would get a cheeseburger and a carton of milk or whatever. But if you paid an extra dollar, you could get French fries, and like that was how their system worked. Mostly it was just French fries, but like people would get some. There was a few extra options you could get. So sometimes I would ask my mom for $3 instead of two, and then I would do that 2 days in a row, and I would take those $2 to 7-Eleven on the way home because it was in my. I must have been. Was it 11th grade or senior year that I rode my bike to school? Must have been senior year, right? Yeah, I graduated in 2009. So, this was at the beginning of my senior year, and I was riding my bike to school every day. Which I think I did all year. So I rode my bike. I would ride on the way home. I would stop at the gas station and buy a Mountain Dew every other day. I'd get like the biggest one I could for $2 and like drink it over the course of those 2 days if I could. And on days I couldn't, I felt like shit. And on days I could, I felt a little better. But like, yeah, I was doing that for a hot minute. But then after about 3 months, there was a time that my parents went on a trip. I don't remember what it was. It was probably out of country because it was like a whole weekend or something, like a 3 or 4 day trip, and they left us with like $100 with which we could buy groceries. I don't know what the fuck exactly they were thinking. Like they gave us $100 to like buy groceries and food. But we don't have a car. Like, I'm 17 and have no license or access to any vehicles. Neither do my brothers. There's like, I guess there's a grocery store within walking distance, but how are we going to get the groceries back, you know? Or like, if we went, you know, like, what did he mean? This is $100 for food. We had food at home, so we didn't even care. Now my Uncle Johnny came by the next day, and we kind of just let him, like, order pizzas and stuff and, like, use the money for the food once he was there. But anyways, on that first day, we took, like, $25 of that money, went to 7-Eleven, and bought as many 2 liters as we could. I think we went on roller skates, and we had so many sodas that we couldn't actually, like, because I think each of us had like 2 bags of 3, so we had like 12 soda bottles, like 12 2-liters or something like that. And we're trying to, and they're like 3 to a bag, and their bags are fucking bursting on us as we're skating home, and it's just a fucking nightmare. But we get home with this absurd amount of 2 liters, and we sit on the couch with my friend Don-san, who was a big anime guy, much bigger than he had seen more anime by then when he was like 18 than I have seen still today. Like, I have still not seen as much anime as he had when he was 17, because he had 4,000 entries on his MAL, 2,000 completed, and that was like a couple years later after that we made his MAL, or maybe it was even right around then. Because he'd been a hikikomori for years and just watching anime all the time. So, yeah, insane amount. But he was a big Lucky Star fan. And I had seen Lucky Star all the way through once, but didn't really like it that much. But, over time, like, seeing the characters around on, like, 4chan and, like, seeing doujinshi of them and stuff had made me like the characters. Like, I'd really warmed up to the characters outside the context of the show. And that made me want to watch the show again. This is obviously before the Philippines, because by then I was a fan of Lucky Star. So we sat down with all this soda, and we literally marathoned all 24 episodes of Lucky Star in one sitting. One, like, 8.5, 9-hour sitting from, like, 2 p.m. to 2 in the morning. We just sat there and marathoned all of Lucky Star while drinking soda. And this particular viewing experience, we had a laptop, and we had the Anime Suki threads open for each episode. Because on Anime Suki, which is a forum from that era that was really, really popular, there was a thread somewhere that had a guide to every reference in Lucky Star. Every single little reference that's ever made in the show, they had a guide to all of it. So we sat there watching the show, and every time something would happen that we thought was a reference that we didn't get, we would pause the show and go read what the reference is on AnimeSuki, which usually made it hilarious. Like, stuff that we didn't get suddenly became the funniest shit, especially some of the, like, really obscure references that are made in Lucky Star, because there are some really fucking weird, obscure references in that show. Yeah, and it was, like, the best night of my life watching anime. So shortly thereafter, now in this 3 month span that we had no Mountain Dew, I had written like 3 blog posts total, like one a month. And I've always been a prolific blogger, so if I'm not writing much, you know something's wrong. I come back with this huge like thesis thing on Moe. Okay, I won't say it was that big, but it was a bunch of different posts about like rediscovering Moe, because I had kind of been falling out with it. Like, I was having a moment where I'd spent like a year and a half as like the Moe guy, and I was starting to wonder about it. But I realized that what I realized from watching these shows was that my problem with Moe was just distance. I just hadn't been watching any of it. But like rewatching Lucky Star, I really loved it, and then I rewatched Air in like a day, and I liked that, and then I caught up on Toradora, which was like 9 episodes in at the time, and I really loved that. And so all of that like gave me like this reawakened love of Moe, and I started writing all this stuff about Toradora, became really active for the rest of the year. And you know, by the time my parents got home, Mountain Dew was around again, and they just kind of gave up, and they took us to the stores, and you know, when we went grocery shopping, we got Mountain Dew again. But eventually I did quit. I quit in 2014. I just stopped drinking Mountain Dew. And the reason was that I've been trying all these other drinks, trying to find something to replace it. And the only drink I found that I enjoyed enough to drink it regularly was diet green tea from Wawa. It's the only thing I liked enough. And I liked that it was 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 anything. It has no nutritional value. It's just water with flavor. And I loved it. And that became my go-to drink. And I immediately lost like 15, 20 pounds when I stopped drinking Mountain Dew. So like I was really into that. And that's all I drank for years. But I now live in a place where there's no Wawas. And I've tried the diet green tea at all the other places, and it's just not up to snuff. We got Wegmans, and they got diet green tea, and it's alright, but they only sell it in, like, these gallon containers, and, like, it starts to smell really weird after a little while, and it's just not as good. And meanwhile, there's soda everywhere. And since I've been way more physically active, I've been losing weight anyways, regardless of drinking soda. So nothing has been there to discourage me. So I've been drinking shitloads of Mountain Dew again. And yeah, now I'm back. I'm right back where I started. Totally addicted to Mountain Dew.